Morning Throners Podcast.
I'm Nelson.
I'm Jeff.
I'm Glow.
I'm Kyle. We're the fucking Morning Throners.
And welcome back to another episode of your favorite A Song of Ice and Fire podcast. We're the Morning Throners. I'm Jeff. You got Nelson, Kyle, and Glow. We're drinking. We're getting ready to go. We might need to put this in, Nelson. You can always delete this if need be, but we filmed the spoiler section first, which shouldn't change a whole lot of what we do here. But let's get rolling, guys. What did you think of the chapter?
First off, hold on. I have a question for everybody. What does sandstone look like in the real world, and is it similar to Minecraft?
It's just Minecraft.
Is River Run yellow as fuck?
It's just yellow, yeah. It's Rhymer, basically. It's our Minecraft Rhymer.
Okay, that's pretty sick.
I don't know if it's like straight yellow, but I mean, it's definitely like a whiter, yellowy, like it's sand. That's the idea, right?
I've never heard of sandstone other than in this chapter and in Minecraft. So
Dude,
it's not a real thing.
I've never heard of sandstone.
I mean, maybe I've heard of it, but I don't ever go to a building and be like, oh, yep, that's sandstone.
Yeah, I want to say you sound really uncultured right now, but I'm 100% behind you. I have no idea. Like, obviously, I've heard of sandstone, but like, if you showed me a million different rocks, could not even tell you. I could not even come in the ballpark of which one sandstone was. I'm sorry, we're not all geologists like Kyle.
I'm not a fucking geologist. It's just
you're a geographist, which is similar.
Geographist?
He is.
Is that the actual term?
I thought it was common knowledge is all, I guess. It's like compressed sand.
If I showed you 4 different bricks and one sandstone, would you successfully pick it out?
I mean, maybe if they were like red brick and sandstone and,
yeah.
But if there were like 4
Obsidian.
that were like variations of the same kind of rock, no, I could not.
Okay. All right. So, Kyle, what'd you think of the chapter?
So, I mean, it was a little boring, I guess, is kind of where I was at. It definitely wrapped the arc
It was
of
definitely
the war. What?
Yeah, it's definitely a boring chapter. I agree.
I really
It's a
like
it's a
this
cat chapter. It's a cat chapter.
The first half is definitely boring, but the second half, I think
We've got
picks up a
11
lot.
boring ass cat chapters.
All right. Well, so I mean, it definitely wrapped the arc and allowed, obviously, and we're not there yet, but at the end of this, we will be. But like, it allowed for the more conflict to continue forward. Like, this isn't over, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But the main fight is. But yeah, I mean, like, it was just there. It
didn't really
was a little
care for it.
disappointing that it was like the second to last chapter, and
Yeah.
like it wasn't as like.
We got the King in the North, though, bro.
It was 9 pages of fluff, and then you get one cool paragraph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we start this chapter, and it's pretty much the Winterfell gang, the North, riding little boats into the gates of River Run. We get Robb, Greywind, and Catelyn on the first one.
Theon.
Okay, and Theon too. And then it's the Great John, Brynden, and
Karstark.
Karstark are on the second one.
Karstark.
And who else knows who's behind them? But
Everyone else, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, they come in. Cat gets cheers. They get cheers for Robb and Winterfell, and she's thinking to herself like weird shit, like the rust on the gates, and are they safe enough? And
Well, because
she's like, why am I thinking like this? My husband just died.
she's still unsettled from the war.
Yeah, she's still
obviously,
scared,
like, this could have went very poorly. Is part of that here. I mean, but she's also distracting herself. Yeah, like you said.
I feel like an artifact of reading these chapters, like the way we're reading them, like really spaced out, is it's way harder for me in this read through to keep track of who knows what. Like when I read from Kat, it's like harder, like some of the big stuff, like, oh, she does it, like this is the first chapter where she knows that Ned died. But like so much other stuff, like has anything gone on at Winterfell that they don't know about? Like, I mean, probably not like right now, but just like it's hard to keep track of like what everyone knows where, because we know everything that's happening everywhere. And here, at least the timeline is still pretty in sync. But when the timeline starts like getting a little bit out of sync for different characters, and you have this, it gets weird, right? Because a lot of the big...
That's why we have you and your timeline, Nels.
That's true, but...
Well, the thing about timelines is they don't really matter.
Jeff,
I
hate
think
that quote.
I think that's why I think this chapter would probably fallen flat for you guys is because there's like we don't really learn anything new in this chapter, but all the characters in this chapter are just getting like bombs dropped on them. So like,
all right, well let's take this. Ned just died, and we've get no reaction from Rob. He's like business as usual. So that's lame as fuck. That don't
What do you mean? Bran said he had tears.
He doesn't
in his
even
eyes.
bring it up. He doesn't barely brings it up. They go to the gods what he prays, and it's like, all right, war council.
yeah, that's true. But
He's like his dad.
I mean, this is one that we didn't even really know, but I mean, and again, we're kind of jumping all over. But Kat's dad's dying. Like, sounds pretty bad. Like Brennan said, or
We knew
Edmure
that
says.
though, right? Like I feel
We
like
knew
that
he was. We knew he was sick.
old.
In hindsight, I feel like we might have Jeff and I might have led on to his condition being worse than maybe the book would have let you think without us, because I didn't realize it was supposed to be like such a big thing. Potentially, I guess she definitely mentioned that he's sick, right?
Yeah,
like
and like nobody would like Edmure was dealing with everybody for him. Like I mean, I kind of assumed that he was dying, and like
Yeah, that's actually true. I think he was like you said. Edmure took over and was doing everything.
yeah, and like she hadn't
So I
heard
think
from
it was
him,
alluded that he
and,
was sick. Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that nobody was talking about him really. Like I actually thought he might have already been dead.
Well, and I think Walter Frey is like, oh, and your dad made fun of me, and I'm outliving all of them. Type
Well, I
shit.
think-
You know
I
what
think
mean?
that's
like, I just had
probably-
another life, and your dad's dying.
Well, I think that's probably what Kat expected, right? Was like a Walter Frey condition. Like Walter Frey is not fucking gonna go ride a horse around, right? Like he has to get helped out of a room and shit because he's like 90. That might be what Kat was expecting from. Again, I don't think her dad's that old, right? So again, this is another question. I don't know this one. How old is this guy?
But
Based on his
Brendan
condition,
seems kind of old, and he's older.
That's
than,
true, and he's younger than Brendan's younger than
Yeah.
Hoster.
I don't know. That, like I said, that was just where I was at. It didn't seem like that big of a shock, but I know what you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
there is potential that you kind of set it up more than I would have from reading.
They definitely said that he was sick before too. But Kat seems to take it like a really big shock. Like, oh my god, I had no idea. She's super pissed at Brendan that, or at Edmure. I keep calling Edmure Brendan. She's super pissed at Edmure that like they didn't send a Raven about this or anything like that.
I mean, it makes sense of the reason why they didn't.
100%. Yeah.
And like, I when we get to Hoster, like he's a little bit out of it, right? He kind of repeats himself a couple times, and but he's still kind of there.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he's not like
it's hard
dying,
to get a
like
vibe.
seeing shit and like blah blah blah. Cat like rub my feet. Like he's talking about like, oh, I watched the battle. Like it was awesome that you guys just took it over. Oh, my brother, like he's still an asshole.
I was
Like-
thinking that I
Is
was
he married
He's
yet?
still not married yet.
he wasn't like the conversation, and we'll get into some of it, but like it wasn't like super complicated, but it didn't sound like he was out of it really at all until he like towards the end he repeats himself, right? Like
Right.
he says something about Rob twice. Like, Rob has my
Oh,
eyes.
cat's son. Yeah, he has my eyes. Blah,
Like,
blah, yeah.
And you're like, wait, does he not remember like what's going on? Like, because he seems pretty fine up until that point. Was
well,
the
and
first
he
thing
doesn't
to me.
he
at
doesn't
least.
realize that what's her name's married already.
Oh yeah,
Like, I mean, there's some stuff there, but I think I'm
Yeah,
picking
you're right.
at things here.
Yeah,
But-
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
you're
with it when they bring up Lysa. And I mean, do we really need to talk much about like she meets Edmure? They talk about the dad. They go see the dad.
That's really what
That's
happens.
I
Yeah.
mean, her. Yeah,
right.
exactly.
So we're in the conversation.
Well,
like he.
Before you get into that though, like what you were saying before, like she is trying to distract herself from Ned dying the whole of this chapter, pretty much. She's still kind of just trying to ignore the fact.
There's like once or twice where she thinks like, oh, Ned in like italics, and then like immediately jumps to something else and like tries
Yeah,
to
and
start.
the only
thinking
reason I
something
wanted to
else.
stop you is like that is like the ultimate thing at the end is when she finally like comes to terms with that. I guess that's like where this chapter builds to. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. Just one more point to Hoster kind of being with it. Like he brings up Lysa. Like he's like, oh, is Lysa here? Like I really want to see her. Oh yeah, she's hiding her. You know, King. She remembers Robert. You know, John's kid, which he's probably never met her, right? Or met him.
Well, John, they have. Hoster's definitely
He's met John. He's probably not met Robert, and he remembers him like nothing. And Rob Stark, it's
yeah.
oh, your son is who? Rob? Oh yeah, he had my eyes.
Yeah, literally an infant.
I think that was like the last time they saw him, probably. Right?
Literally, Rob was an infant. Yeah, when he was born.
That's what she said. Yeah, she was leaving the That was
He's
her
left
last
with
memory
Rob.
of this river, pretty much.
Yep,
That
exactly.
jerk, he didn't come visit?
Hoster, he's the Lord.
You can't leave every now and then?
I guess you probably can. One thing is, I think we've mentioned this before, but just as a reminder, and I think, they don't talk about it later. As they're walking to Hoster's room, there's she mentions that they're walking through the yard or like past the yard where Littlefinger had previously fought Brandon Stark, fought a duel against Brandon Stark.
Yep.
Did you remember that, Kyle?
I mean, I remember that happening, yeah.
Okay. I think Littlefinger only mentioned it. Like I think Littlefinger mentioned it in the cat chapter.
They talked about it, yeah, and like
just like
Brandon
once or
just
twice.
beat
Though.
the shit out of him, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, makes sense.
Well, the other thing though is she came to terms with the fact that she started all this war as well. I mean,
that's what I was gonna say. She
Okay.
kind of like thinks that like
If I didn't grab the fucking imp.
exactly. What do you think? So what do you think about that, Kyle? Do you agree with that?
I mean, it definitely sped the whole, and I feel like we even talked about that during that chapter, is that like it definitely sped all this stuff in motion. I think it was kind of already in play in the background. I don't know that there would have been an all-out war like this, though.
I guess
But-
I don't remember if we asked you this at the time or what you thought. If we did ask you, but like, was what Kat did there justified? And obviously hindsight's 2020, but like looking back, I feel like Kat, you're an idiot. Like it's easy to say, Kat, you're an idiot now, but I don't think that's what you were saying when this happened the first time.
It wasn't justified in the first point. The knife. That was the only.
Yeah, I
but
mean,
the
I don't know
knife.
that she had
But-
enough
but
evidence.
I don't think Kyle was on board for the knife. Like Kyle was still wishy-washy about like whose knife it was, and
I still
think
don't
you
know
had-
whose knife it is.
yeah, I know, but I think you still thought that I feel like you weren't too upset with the kid if you kidnapping, if what you want to call it, like when she takes Tyrion.
Take him prisoner.
Yeah, again, I don't remember, but I feel like you thought it was still pretty justified.
I mean, it made sense to her, I think, is I guess maybe that's where I was at. It's
for sure.
like,
Yeah,
I agree with Kyle there. I mean, maybe it
Like
It
she
fucked
thought she
everything
had
up.
the suspect.
fucked a lot of shit up, but
and,
yeah.
like she thought she was doing what was right, and it was like, let's be real, that was definitely her best opportunity to ever get him. If it was him.
Literally right in his hands. Like,
and in that
right
chapter,
in
we
her hands.
don't. That wasn't like her plan. Her plan was just like lay low, right?
She was headed to River Run, right?
Yeah, but she was going on like
She
a
was
fake
like
name.
hoods up, like Roger
Yeah.
shaved, the whole deal. They were like, nope, we're not talking to nobody.
And Tyrion points her out.
Like, oh,
What are
Lady
you
Stark,
doing here?
I missed you at Winterfell. Why are you so south?
Yeah, he's like, oh, what the fuck? That's weird. We met here.
Oh yeah, it was definitely not her plan. I will agree. It just kind of like all happened so fast.
At that point, you're like, what do I do? Yeah.
And
Yeah,
she just
she
happened to
panicked.
have 8 of her bannermen around, so it was like, all right, fuck it.
Yep. So she scolds. She's up in the hostage room. She scolds him. She's like, "Why didn't you tell me about it?" Riders are questioned. Ravens are shot down. He has this like spasm of pain. He says he's got like crabs in his stomach, and
They pinch him all day, every day.
yeah, crabs in his belly.
Can you
pinch him all
imagine?
day.
It's gotta be awful.
He says that the maester normally gives him dream wine or milk of the poppy, but he's like he didn't take any today because he wanted to stay awake to see Cat. Oh, also I don't know if he already said it. I think he does as soon as she walks in.
My precious cat, my little cat.
Keep going.
I watched for you. That was what she used to do for him. Is that what you're saying?
There was like a whole like page and a half.
Yeah,
and
which
we're like,
was
what is-
bullshit.
We're
Which
like,
was
what the
bullshit.
fucking point is this?
I won't listen. I will never listen to that chapter. I never believe that chapter.
What are you talking about? He was literally watching for him. He was on the balcony.
Yeah, he's a dying old man that has nothing to do but sit
Why
there.
can't
She
she
was like
wait?
a
Why can't she
she
wait?
was like a
on the
7-year-old
balcony every now
kid.
and
She's
then?
going to play tag and run around and play stickball on the field.
When your
and
girlfriend's
knit and
coming. You
shit.
don't watch out the window for her, Jeff?
Don't tell her. But
I literally just edited the Whispering Wood Cat chapter, and I knew Jeff got fired up when Cat was saying all that shit. So there's a callback right here. I was like, yeah.
Take your opportunity.
Yeah, I think it's like a George throwing up like an easy one. Like, hey, look, callback. Everyone should feel.
Here, Jeff.
if
Here,
you didn't
Jeff.
pick up on that, go jump off the
I'm
battlements
saying
with Cat
this is
watching
George.
you.
This is George giving us a gimme.
Thanks, George.
She tells him that she brought Rob with her, and Rob wants to meet her, and that's where he says the
Meet
thing about
him.
the eyes for the first. Yeah, meet him. Sort of the things about the eyes the first time. She says they got Jamie, they freed River Run. He's like, I know. People like took me out, and I got to basically watch everything.
Which I think is the coolest part
That
of this
is
whole.
pretty sweet.
Maybe not the coolest part of the whole chapter, but the coolest part of Hoster is like, oh shit, the battle's going on. let me go watch. Like he's just in like
Let me
the
hear that
suite
shit.
of the stadium, like watching his favorite team play. You know, that's pretty cool.
I mean, or he's like afraid for his life.
Nah,
pretty
he loved
much.
it. He was loving every bit of it.
Well, the
I agree
description
with
is
Jeff there.
horrible. The description is like talking about like the screams. It's like the screams, I think like the fires, and he's like, it was so beautiful. It's like that doesn't sound beautiful. It sounds fucking terrifying. But like he can
That's what I'm saying,
he like
yeah.
knows it's like liberation, and he says like when the siege towers went up, I could have just like died and like been content if only I could have like. The only thing that I would have missed was seeing you guys, like seeing my kids.
When they went up in flames.
Yeah,
is what
exactly.
he
Like
meant,
when,
right?
when they were on fire or
okay.
whatever.
Yeah. That's why that confused me for a second, but that's
That's
how
I took it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have the exact quote in front of me. That's what I have in my notes.
It just says when that siege tower went up, gods would have died then and glad.
The sweet cries.
And she's like, "Who did it?" And Kat gives 100% of the credit to two people, which is super fucked up. She gives it to Robin and Brendan. She's like, "They did it all." And then this is where they have a little bit of the Brendan talk, right? They talk. They ask about Lysa. Jeff said that stuff. Then they have some of the Brendan talk. So what's their? I guess we knew that there was some beef between these two before.
Was that the only riff though? The only riff was that he didn't want to get married to the match, and it's like, all right, fuck it, like I'm out.
He didn't listen to the Lord's fucking request or command.
I mean, I think Brendan might be gay, and I don't mean that in any way. I think like that might be what's going on here. That's where I'm at.
The theories on this, and most of the theories come 100% from this quote right here. The main quote is when Kat says, she said something online like, "We both know he's not married and will never be married," type thing. So
I mean, he's like 70 years old now, or like however old he is.
I don't know if that's true. I think like when people consider people old in this world, it's like
50.
normally, yeah,
50?
yeah, exactly. So like, I think he's maybe 50.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe I
see
think like
50.
50. I think 55
But again,
would be
what's
a
the
max
life
for Brendan.
expectancy of this realm?
You're right, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, we're that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about like how his like you know what I mean?
He might be dying soon, even if he's a good fighter, just off of, like
He might have
disease
crabs
or
in his
something.
belly. We don't
he might
know
have
yet.
crabs in his belly.
So the only other theory that like people have come up with, and again, there's really no evidence to support this except for it kind of makes sense based on this quote, is if there was like a thing where maybe Brendan loved the same person that like Kat's mom, and
Yeah.
because like Hoster is the Lord, Kat, he gets to marry that guy.
I don't. Yeah.
And now, or maybe like he had some love who died, right? That was another theory. Like he had some girl who we don't know about who died, and it was a secret love, and now he just never wants to marry again.
Yeah,
or
those
when
are like
he
the
was
only
younger,
things.
she got arranged elsewhere.
I thought he was going to
type
play
shit.
into this,
But-
so you guys don't know either.
If I do know Kyle, I honestly don't remember. So
If I do
I'm
know,
not.
I don't remember.
I'm gonna plead the fifth. Those are the theories as of
But
now.
I mean, I'm sure that
maybe
wasn't.
he's gay.
like-
Nelson
I like
thinks
both of
he's
those.
in fucking
Accepted back
spoiler
then.
section
For
right
sure,
now.
for sure. I don't think you would be like open if you like in these times. I don't think there's many people that are openly gay.
Well, and especially as a Lord's brother, you know, like I mean, he's obviously pretty important. It's kind of like the imp, like you know,
Yeah.
It shouldn't say ill about your family, but it did to everybody. So
That also makes sense why Hoster would want him to marry so much, because it kind of like if he is gay, it kind of like
Yeah.
covers it up. If
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that does make sense.
It just doesn't make sense that this one riff, like, oh, marrying this one girl, like, what's Bryden? Like, he's gonna be a high lord somewhere. Maybe not the Lord of
do
Riverrun.
you make fun of you make fun of Glow for how he says Kevin?
When you say Bryden,
I
dude.
just like Bryden. I think it's way better than
It's
Brendan.
Brendan.
I get it. I mean, I'm just gonna say this once. If I ever hear Cave-in Lannister again, I'm gonna off myself. Okay, because that's just like it doesn't make any sense at all.
Cave N. That's how it's spelled. Cave N.
It's
Kavan.
Kavan, if anything,
Kavan.
but it's Kevan. It's Kevan.
It's gotta be Cavan.
And just because I'm an American, I say it like it's Kevin.
All right,
Kevin.
But
go on.
what's his? Because he's never going to be, unless Hoster died young, he's never going to be the Lord of Winter or Riverrun. So your thing was to be a High Lord, or to be a knight, or to go to the Watch, right? That's about your three things that you could do in this life. And I guess he chooses
Nobody goes.
He
so
chooses
much.
knighthood, right?
Not on purpose.
He goes.
He chooses. He basically chooses something very similar. He chooses to be the Knight of the Gate, which I guess isn't a life term. Maybe it's supposed to be, and he just like, "Fuck you, Lysa, I'm out" to go defend Riverrun, because it seemed like he
kind of did that. That was kind of how
it seemed like he wasn't
left.
allowed to leave. But again, I don't know that his position was necessarily like a vow of life.
So the Kingsguard is not allowed to wed.
Kingsguard, you can't have kids or a wife.
Again, I've never really thought about it that much. His orientation or the reason behind this, but there definitely is something weird. You're right, Jeff, that it seems like there's too much of a feud between these two for what it is.
Yeah, for just being, I'm not marrying one of these 3 girls. Like, come on.
So who are the
I
girls?
kind of like your theory about them loving the same girl.
Yeah, I like that too.
Or he just has someone who died young or something.
Yeah,
but again, it would have to be like someone like important that like we don't hear about for a bunch of books or something, right?
Yeah.
So who are the girls?
One's a Frey. I forget
One's,
who's the one.
one's a red
Definitely
wine.
red wine. That was the first one.
It's Bracken's girl, Walder Frey.
Offered
red
3
wine.
daughters.
Red
Red
wine.
wine. Red wine.
Walter Frey offered a few daughters, and
Yeah.
Beth and Red was the first one. And Beth, Kyle mentioned this earlier. He forgets that Bethany Redwine is currently married to Mathis Rowan,
and has 3 kids of
and has
her
a couple
own.
kids. Yep, exactly.
Good for her.
And she's like, Dad, like, I know you guys are fighting, but he fought his way just to come back and see you. Like, can you just like fucking see him before you die?
And there's no way I would have got here without him. Like he helped my
Like,
ass.
can you please just like
And
put
Hostage
a
is like,
truce?
oh yeah, he is a badass fighter. I'm going to bed. Tell him later. I'm too sick.
I'm too tired to fight.
I'm too tired to fight.
Yeah.
That's
and
a great
she's like,
line.
all right, I'm out. And she's like, all right, I'm out.
And she heads down to the God's Woods.
So she bounces around. First, she goes
she goes to
immediately
the
and sees
Great
Brendan.
Hall. Yeah,
Well, first she sees Brendan.
Right.
And Brendan, and she says like, can I go? And he is like super concerned and like wants to go see Hoster. Like first thing he says like, how is he? And she's like, he's not good. And she's like, can I see him? And she's like, not right now. But
he's
he
too
does,
tired to
like,
fight.
But he does say, but he does say he'll see you, but he's too tired to fight. And he says, I'm too old a soldier to believe that Hoster will be chiding me about the red wine girl, even as we light his funeral pyre, damn his bones. Catelyn smiled, knowing it was true. It's the only time Catelyn smiles the whole chapter. Brendan gets her to smile. Is the only thing I noted. Even though Brendan, I don't think is that funny. He like, it seems like Brendan and Cat have a.
I don't know if it was funny.
Cool
I think it was
relationship.
just like too true. You know, he hit it
It's
on
like
the
a
head.
an inside joke between family members.
I think they have a good relationship, the two of them. A cool relationship, like a connection. She asks where Rob is. They say go to the Great Hall. They went to the Great Hall with Theon. Goes to the Great Hall with Theon. Theon's like bragging about the Whispering Wood and how
Ghost
Grey
was
Wind was
just tearing, or Great Ghost. Grey Wind was just tearing shit up.
Yeah.
The ripping it,
ripping arms off and scaring horses everywhere and throwing people.
Made the Lannisters think the others were there.
Capital O or no capital O?
Was
Capital in the middle of a sentence.
Yikes.
Yikes. Others. So she interrupts Theon, and Theon's like, yeah, he's in the Godswood. Goes to the Godswood. Who's there?
It's a bunch of people,
Karstar.
right?
I mean, obviously Rob.
Marge.
Pretty much
Marge
everyone from
Mormont.
North of the Neck.
Mage.
Maggie.
Sorry.
Meiji
Yeah, warm
Mormont.
letter.
Is it really Mage?
Mary
I don't
Masdor
know.
Mormont. Yeah, it's Mary Masdor Mormont. Is her name?
It's Mage. It's Mage.
I think it's Mage.
Yeah, Mage.
Oh, that's right. Meiji was that other.
I feel like it's the big
It's all
house.
the
Game of
right?
Thrones- that was a Game of
It's
Thrones
just
word
the
joke.
big house members that are with him.
Everyone from North of the Neck, and then there's one like other exception who Kat mentioned earlier, I think,
Titus Blackwood, yeah, he was with Edmure, I think,
on the steps.
on the steps.
Tyrion Mausch also mentioned him last chapter. He's the one who rescued Edmure. So like when Rob starts coming in from like outside their army, he's the one that led the attack from River Run
Right.
across the bridge to pincer move him. So yeah, him and all the North guys.
Oh wait, before she gets there though, she talks about how she made out with Peter, back and forth with Lysa.
No, that's after she gets there. We're getting there.
Is that
Yeah.
after?
Yeah, it's
Either
coming
way,
up.
that's
'Cause
fucking
it was
weird.
in the Godswood.
Yeah, weird. She thinks of it fondly. She probably, I might be wrong. She's probably smiling ear to ear the whole time here.
I mean, it's like
Freaking
a
so
cool
what?
childhood memory. Like, oh, we were, running around kissing, and Lysa was like making out as like a 3-year-old with tongue and liked it.
Yeah,
That was
Littlefinger's over
so
here playing
weird.
tonsil hockey.
I mean, just think about Littlefinger just walking around swinging. Like, yeah, I'm making out with both of them. Do something about it.
Kid's fucking walking out of that fucking. He's less than 9 years old. It said so. She's less than Sansa.
So
Sansa's
Lysa's
11.
less than Arya, so she's like 6 or
Arya's
7.
9.
it's like 10, 8, and 7.
Littlefinger's less than Lysa. So yeah, if you say Lysa's 8, Littlefinger's 7. 7-year-olds over here fucking making out with the fucking the Lord's 2 daughters in the Godswood.
Yeah.
He's fucking just like
He is from little.
Nelson, your visual jokes don't work.
No, it
you know-
works for me.
podcast.
you
Audio
know in
format.
the office. Exactly. You know in the office when
The bed bugs.
when he asked about the bed
yeah,
bug.
real smug. Real
So he
smug
walked away real
looking.
smug. That like little like shoulder bob Dwight does. That's exactly what I'm doing here. That's exactly what Littlefinger's doing all around me from that whole day. There's my visual. What else does Catelyn remember about the Godswood besides that? Nothing crazy.
The tree is crying. The tree looks like it's crying more than it is.
I was just saying what old
that tree
memories.
sounds like a frail body bitch.
Peter's chewing on mint.
Yeah, so the 2 things I was wondering was Hoster taught her to ride horses
He was
here,
riding horses.
and Edmure fell out of a tree and broke his arm.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, like, if you break your arm, like, that can't be, like, as easy fix.
Depends if it's like a clean break or just like a little
Yeah, if it's a
hairline
clean-
fracture.
Like,
Clean
I-
break, like they'd have to be able to set it pretty good, or he's probably got a crooked arm.
Exactly. You'd have a crooked arm in the olden days, right?
I'm
yeah,
sure
but
they
think
kind
about
of
it. In
knew
the
like,
1700s,
we need
they had
to
fucking the
straighten
wooden
this thing
cinches.
out.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Yeah.
You're
Just splint
the
it.
closest thing to a doctor.
I'm the closest thing to a doctor.
Your wife's like a doctor.
If she's
She's
not.
a nutritionist dietitian person.
She's a registered she works with doctors.
Exactly.
She is not a
Yeah,
doctor.
that's a doctor adjacent. So you're the closest thing.
And you still don't listen to her.
You're right. Well, she just told me to go to another doctor. I don't take referrals.
I'll take referrals.
All right, Rob gets up, sheaths his sword. That's always a tricky one for me. You got a little-
Sheaths his sword. Now it's tough for me.
Sheaths
Sheaths the
is a
sword.
tough word for me.
While we're here, Kyle, any thoughts on these memories?
Well, I only remember the one. Like that's what I was trying to look through. I don't
I
remember,
remember the broken
horse
arm
riding
one.
stuff.
I don't remember the horse riding.
They're literally like half
She
a
brings
sentence
it
each.
up.
They're not big. I mostly meant the kissing one. That's the one that she talks about for like half a page.
I don't know. It's weird because it seems like she likes Peter still. She has fond memories of Peter, which might get her into trouble later, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Because he seems like a real piece of shit now.
Have we heard
You know?
anything about the 2 of them before this?
Yeah, I remember if Kyle
I
doesn't.
mean, we know about the duel and all that stuff. What are you getting at?
All right.
So, like, what was the duel about?
He loved her. He was trying to marry her.
Yeah,
And,
Doesn't
yeah.
Peter say something else even further to Nelson?
I think so, but I don't know if Kyle remembers it or if
Kyle,
I'm just
can you pop
misremembering
off
too.
Here, I'm
real quick?
muted. Can't
I
hear
think
you.
Tyrion tells Kat when they're getting taken to the Eyrie that
Peter was like, "Yeah, we
that
banged."
Peter Finger told everyone at the court that he fucked her.
Yeah. Okay.
He definitely says that, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember that, but maybe.
I do.
I'm unmuted now.
All right, you're good.
I don't know if it's
It's been said for sure. It's been said.
100% because those 2 characters, yeah. So Tyrion, when they're going to the Eyrie, tells Kat that Littlefinger was like telling people that they like. I'm pretty sure
That
he was
they were
telling
bang-
people at
that
the
they
court
banged.
that he fucked her once at least.
I think he said he took her maidenhood.
I think so too. I think that's what he says. He's like Littlefinger told the court that he took your maidenhood or something like that.
It's I do now that you say that I do kind of remember.
It's
that
when
now.
Tyrion was being like a cock as a prisoner. It's like, oh, blah blah.
I don't know how much it matters.
I don't think it matters either, but this is just more along the same lines. That's what that's building on. So I thought you were going to bring that up.
All right,
When
so
he did, I was like-
Rob hops up and he turns right to his mom and he's like, "All right, call the council. We need to get a war council together."
Well, has Rob ever kissed a girl?
That's
Yeah,
what she's asking.
he's found some little North girl that,
She said she saw girls looking at him.
yeah, Jane Poole's like loving him.
I
If
hope so.
Theon's talking all this shit, banging bitches around Rob's gonna be like, yeah, I gotta do that shit.
Rob at least kissed a girl.
After what Catelyn said about all Frey's daughters, you gotta hope Rob got some action back in Winterfell now that he's he's already tied to one. You know what I'm saying? He has no more
Yeah.
chances.
Yeah,
All his chances are gone now.
And I mean, Baelish was a 7-year-old making out with everybody. Like, you would hope Rob like got to kiss somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Baelish is just some like little fosterling. Rob's like the Lord's son.
All right, so she's like, "Come on, man! Like, my dad's sick. You got to go meet him first." She's like, "No, we need to get this deal together." Renly Baratheon just said that he's the king. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun,
Again,
dun, dun.
Where did they find that out from? Titos, or who found that out?
Edmure, word from the south. So probably just Renly sending a raven like, "Hey, I'm actually the king now." You would think.
Yeah, I don't know. Tywin figured it out too. So both armies are figuring it out about the same time. I guess makes sense.
Yeah. And then they're like, "Oh, wow! I thought it would be Stannis," and they're like, "Yeah, so did we." And
Yeah, everyone did.
And I don't think we really hear of Stannis the rest of the chapter.
Somebody says it later. They talk about it later. Like, what if he shows back up? It's rightfully his, and we're still traitors because we backed the wrong guy.
We'll get there. Yep, you're right, Kyle. All right, so we get to the council, and it's just a bunch of...
Who we got?
Oh, so many people.
Karstark.
People.
Glover.
Carl Vance, Mark Piper, a young Raymond Derry, Janos Bracken.
Yeah, not Raymond Derry, young Lyman Derry.
Whatever.
Jonas
Theon,
Blacken.
Galbert Glover, Mage Mormont, Richard Karstark.
Ricard.
Yeah, you hit a lot of them. Any big names in this? Who talks a lot? Kyle.
Great John.
Great John talks a lot. Anybody else?
Rob.
Karstark.
Mormont.
Karstark.
Mage. Then
Yeah, Mage talks a good amount.
Mage
Blackwood
yells
talks,
a thing or
right?
two.
Blackwood
Titus,
or
the
Bracken?
Blackwood and Bracken get into it.
Mage is a yes man. I thought Mark Piper talks a lot.
Mark Piper does talk a lot. He was in the Riverlands fighting the mountain. And shit.
He's a big one about just like going and fighting with Renly.
A hothead. Well,
Yeah.
I think he just like wants to either like attack. Yeah, maybe you're right. He
wants to go team up with Renly because then they'll just kill everybody. He
definitely wants to fight.
With all of us together, we're gonna beat everyone.
So let's go through like some of the stuff they're saying. One thing that Kat mentioned is Karstark, who's sitting next to her. I think
He's just grieving. He's just grieving.
He's not a happy camper. I mean, obviously, 2 kids died. They don't
Third
know about
one is out and about.
They don't have any word of
missing. Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
we know he's been captured from the Tyrion chapter. Basically, they get their situation right now. We pretty much know this already. Roose Bolton has reformed battered remnants of their host at the mouth of the causeway. Sir Helmund Tarhart, Walder Frey hold the twins still. Lord Tywin's army across the Twyden is going to Harrenhal. Basically, everything Basically, everything we got last chapter. There's 2 kings in the realms, 2 kings, and no agreement. So basically, yeah, a bunch of people want to go fight Tywin. Mark Piper's original thought is let's go fucking west.
Which is that would probably be the smart play. I think if they're trying to wipe him out, I think that would be the smart play.
Like that would force a move from them for sure.
Yeah, and you still got Roose up above. Like, I mean, they still have some defense home. Like, if they were trying to destroy the Lannisters, like literally destroy the Lannisters, that would be how you do it.
So Jason Mallister recommends patience. He says, basically, let's just stay here. We're in their supply line. We can stop them from getting food and reinforcements while we build up our own defenses, get our own people like healed up and stuff. Titus Blackwood says, let's march on Tywin. Let's just both attack from north and from where we are at the same time. Or that's Titus Blackwood. Jonas Bracken, who always opposes the Blackwoods, recommends that they join Renly. And that's the first time Rob speaks the whole council, which is kind of, I don't know if it's meant to be like a connection, but Tyrion was noticing that how Tywin tried to always let all his lords speak before he spoke. I don't know if that's something Rob's trying to do or...
I think it's a tie into like when you're the leader,
good
like you learn how to
listen.
Good
first.
leaders listen.
I mean, it says it right here. Yeah, it says like his father, he knew how to listen.
Yep.
But that's a comparison to Ned. This like,
but I think it's a parallel to like
Tywin and Ned are good leaders.
I think in this book, like you can truly say.
but right
like,
now, that's like good guy, bad guy, right? Those are the
but
leaders.
That's just the point I was going to bring up. I was truly going to bring this up. Like you could really just read this book, and I get we get a lot more Stark POV, but you can really choose what side you think is the good versus bad. And like you might be reading this and be like, actually I really like the Lannisters here. I'm gonna root for them. They're the good guys and the Starks are the bad guys.
Like, what if you only read Tyrion
I don't know
chapters?
about that, man.
Like, what if you only
I think
read...
it's laid out pretty obvious.
What if you
It
only
definitely
read...
It's good news.
What if you only read the Tyrion chapters? And this is something that I wanted to do, is like go through and just read all of one character's chapters in order, like potentially through the entire series, not even just a book.
That'll be the next podcast.
I think when you
Tyrion
get to
doesn't
the
even
point,
like Tywin and Cersei.
yeah, I'm not saying like all of the Lannisters, but you could see like the Lannisters. Technically, Joffrey's king. Like everything that we're reading about right now is treason, and they're being traitors. Technically, like I'm just saying.
So.
I'm just saying. You could look at
The Empire
Tywin.
did
But you're
nothing
saying
wrong.
Lannisters and Joffrey is a Baratheon.
I'm saying Tywin. I'm saying when you're thinking of Tywin, like, yeah, sure, he murdered the Martell, the kid, and the baby.
He's burning the Riverlands.
But everybody's doing
Sending
that.
the-
Everybody's
sending the
doing
mountain
that.
out
It's
to
just
kill
part of
everybody and
war.
rape
I mean, that's
everybody.
part of war. So when you think of like, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not saying that I agree with that or that's how I think. I'm just saying it's very possible that you could take one point of view
part where
and not
the
think of
brother-
it as
twin-
what someone else does.
the twin brothers and sisters, are banging and making kids, and then lying to their husband and telling them that that's the king. Like I don't think they have.
Sure,
many
but there's
redeeming
so much
qualities.
history that we don't even know about. Like to say that the Starks are just good versus evil is wrong. Nelson.
Well, I mean that's just any fight. I think. Yeah,
It's tough.
It depends what side you're on.
I like what you're saying, Jeff, and I want to agree with you because, like I was saying, I feel like if you read through these as from certain characters' POVs, you would get a different perspective. If you like just in those POVs, especially like if you had POVs that we don't even have, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I don't know how a Joffrey POV would go, but like if you only read a Joffrey POV through this book, like Starks aren't the good guys, right?
I don't think you would like him.
You probably wouldn't.
read
Like
his-
that's a bad example. Joffrey's probably a bad example, but like
That's what I'm saying.
maybe
Like
a
I mean, in
Tywin
Cersei,
POV.
nobody.
If you what a Tywin POV where like Lily, you're just chilling at Castle Rock and then shit just starts people start fucking with your family and you just gotta go say
Like Tywin doesn't think
right?
of Tywin's not thinking of like, oh, my kids are incestual. Like there's no dishonor going on. Like he's just like, oh, this is my family. I'm fighting for my family. This is what we're doing so that
they're
my
coming at
family
us.
wins.
What the fuck? Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's possible
on the
to
other
think that
hand,
way.
though, so that's my side towards Jeff. On the other hand, on the Kyle side, though, Jeff made the point that like, oh yeah, Tywin just sends the mountain out to the Riverlands to just like literally with the command to rape people and like murder people.
Yeah,
and that's just
pretty
part
awful.
of war. You can look at Rob, who doesn't do that. At like literally
Yeah, I
does
don't
the
think that's part of
opposite of
war.
that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I
if that,
didn't mean the last part where he said like go out and rape everybody, but like go out and like attack these little towns.
For everyone.
Go out at
I mean, you
at
shouldn't be
first, the
killing
very first
civilians,
time.
right? That's not
But he
part
was
of
sending
war.
their message. There were people that were going to fight against them.
It's definitely part of
But
war,
yeah, I
but
get
I
it.
think
I
it.
get
I think it like does indicate like a difference between like a good. I don't know what the right words, but like good and evil, good and bad. Like I don't know the right words there, but like it gives you a person to root for when there's one person who's willing to hurt innocents and somebody else who's not. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, that there's a whole subreddit. The Empire did nothing wrong. It's like the
Are we talking Star Wars? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was
Luke killed millions of people.
Luke killed
did.
a
What about
bunch
Alderaan?
of people, man.
What do you mean the Empire? Okay, so
There was
hold
just
on.
as many people on.
they were just trying to go about their galactic business, and they weren't really doing anything that wrong.
Okay, let's think
They
about
did-
the.
and then
Let's
they
just
did
think about the
kill Alderaan,
Alderaan
though.
thing. Let's just think about the Alderaan. Yeah, let's just think about the Alderaan thing. How do you justify that?
When did
How
they
do-
kill Alderaan? When did they
blew
do
it up.
that?
They did blow it up
Yeah, but why?
after they.
no,
they-
hold on,
they were
let
rebels.
me go. They tell Leia, tell me where the base is, or I'm blowing up Alderaan, and she's like, all right,
She
fine.
lied.
Here's,
She lied.
but they didn't know that. She told them where the base was, and they blew it up anyway. That's just fucked up. They thought she was telling the truth. You're right, she lied.
It's been a while since I've seen
It
it.
doesn't
But
matter.
I think
That's
it's like
wrong.
I think it's a joke subreddit, pretty much.
You're right,
but
but I know what you're talking about.
it's like the same idea. Like they were just trying to go about their galactic business, and trying to keep peace and government, and and the Empire, and now here's these rebels that are fucking everything up.
Yeah.
But
Causing trouble, blowing
it's the
up
same idea.
fucking planet-sized ships.
I don't know if any of our viewers are familiar with video games, but I play Sea of Thieves, and I've got dumpstered by streamers every once in a while. And anytime that happens, I'm just like, what a fucker. Like, this fucking streamer, all they do is play this game for 12 hours a fucking day, and then they're going to come and ruin my I spent 2 hours tonight and they're going to ruin my fucking evening after I worked all day. But then I'm going to go and watch streamers all fucking night play Sea of Thieves. So it's like, yeah, when you're the one like that's at the short end of the stick, they seem evil, but it's all like if you're the one watching through their perspective, it's all fun. It's all awesome.
My favorite part is Nelson acting like he doesn't play it 12 hours a day.
I don't. I wish. I'm gonna go play for an hour after this, maybe.
Dude, my buddy the other day was talking. He plays Sea of Thieves, and he was saying that like he'll go out of his way to be a dick to like newbies and shit, and like kill them. And like the one day it was a father and a son playing together, and like the son was trying to teach his dad, and he was still fucking with them the whole time, like trying to sink their ship. I was like, dude, you're a dick.
In that game, I feel like helping a noob is like when you pass up like a 2-point buck, so you can get them later on when they're like a 10-point buck, right? If you literally just like dumpster someone on their first day, they're just gonna be like, fuck this game and never play it again. But if you like jump on their ship, you're like, hey, how you doing? I'm Nelson. Blah, 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 blah. Here, take all this loot. Then they're gonna be like, this game's fucking sick, and they're never gonna stop. And then I'm gonna come dumpster them in 2 years when they have a fuck ton of loot on their boat. Moving on, back to the podcast. Where are we at?
So Rob is like, Renly is not the king, right? He pretty much comes out and he's like, we can't.
We're not backing that guy. You know, he has no claim to it.
And then the Glover's like, but I mean, he killed your dad, or Joffrey killed your dad. You can't stay with him. And he's like, that makes him evil, but he's still the fucking king.
That makes him evil. It doesn't make Renly king. Which is like, Rob's fucking 15. First off, let's remember, Rob's fucking 15. There's a lot of little kids in these books making like grown up moves.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this was a layup though at the same time, because that was like what his dad told him. Is like, there's rules to this land.
I agree with
like,
Kyle.
Kill the guy.
You're right.
You have to...
He's just playing. He's literally just playing from a rule book. Like,
he's literally like just using everything he's been taught to this moment was for this moment.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to make this kind of decision. So.
Also, one thing that I'm going to bring up, which like we kind of touched upon a little bit in the spoiler section last time, and actually Jeff and I got into a big argument about it. I'm actually going to help Jeff's argument here, and I don't think it's a spoiler, so I think we're trying to talk about it. John was saying in the John chapter that he felt like he was at a disadvantage because the Southern people had septons.
Wait.
Can I actually finish my train of thought in this podcast? Or
no, you're not allowed, Jeff.
We're not gonna fight again, but I'm helping you out here. John was basically saying that like because of septons,
they can tell them what to do.
They have a guidance, and the Northern don't have that. They just play to a tree, and then how the fuck are they supposed to get hearing? Rob has a similar. He doesn't say anything specifically about the Southern people.
He said
here.
I asked the trees and they didn't answer.
Yeah, no shit, the trees didn't fucking answer.
So I just want to finish my point really quick.
Oh my god!
I'm gonna mute my mic.
Because Osha, Kyle, if you remember, told Bran what happened. She's like, oh, nope, he's going south. Our gods don't go down there. So, like, maybe there's not a person like a Septon who is, one, interpreting a book that they wrote themselves. So it's not like they even have the actual word of the god. Kind of like to your point, Nelson, like, what is religion? How does George even think about it?
It's just religion in general, right?
They have a way,
book that
obviously,
some other dude wrote.
The wildlings have a way of interpreting signs, even though it's just trees in the air and wind and shit. Like, they at least would have, like, if Rob was a wildling and he said...
Pagans.
What?
They're kind of like pagans, right?
Sure. If Rob was a wildling and he was, or had a wildling...
I don't know what pagans are. Can you explain pagans?
It's like a saint, isn't there? Or like a...
No, I thought like pagans were like the original religion, like Mother Nature and
I don't know.
Mother Earth, like
Native. I don't know anything about
like
this.
Native Americans, I think would be considered pagan.
I was gonna say Native Americans. That might be super ignorant. I don't know anything about Native American religion, but I always assumed it was.
I don't know if they are. I don't know if they're
like
the
Irish used to be pagans before they became Catholics.
Well, what I was kind of saying is like, say
most of these holidays are pagan holidays.
Stop talking
Easter's
about this
pagan.
bullshit. All right, let me get my point.
This is
two podcasts I haven't been able to say my point yet, and I'm right next to my point. Let me fucking finish it. All right, because Nelson didn't let me last time. All right, if Rob had someone like Osha who was next to Bran while he was praying, be like, hey, this is what I prayed about. What do you think about it? And she looks at the wind and how the trees blow, and she'd be like, okay, you should go join Renly. That's what the old gods told me. So, to John's point where, the tree didn't talk back, they're just not listening to the tree the same way that other people that follow the old gods do.
Yeah, I got
people that are more experienced.
And I think my counter to that was, how do we know all wildlings think the same? Like, how do we know that, like, if Barbara instead of Osha was with Bran and she heard the leaves saying the same thing, she could have been like, oh, that means.
Well, that's the same thing about the Septons, right? The Septons could be the same way.
Exactly,
Blah, blah, blah. This is how I interpret. So, even though there's a book there, it's all kind of up for interpretation.
That's kind of like reaching into like the side. Again, we're kind of like just poking on like, how does religion work? Like, is there too much power in the person who's like the intermediate, right? Yeah, exactly. Yes. Like, I'm not.
It's like the oracles back in the Greek days.
And this is what this is what the big fight was about. But George is an atheist, but I don't think George is trying to like flood the book with those types of I don't think that was the point of like any of I don't think he's trying to express that to his readers that like, oh, religion's a bunch of fraud. It's all frauds.
2 chapters though when the old gods don't answer, and then 1 chapter that we had where it did kind of answer.
Just because you think it's because the people who worship the old gods that aren't wildlings are just out of touch, and they just have like
they're just agreed. Like, what are they actually waiting for the tree to like open its mouth and like talk back to them?
Instead of words on a page, that there is some like passed down religion, like this means this type of thing means this means this.
Sure, yeah, and I have no idea what it is.
Which I guess is what is you're saying, Kyle. That's kind of how paganism. I feel like, again, speculation here. Normally we save that for the spoiler section, but a lot of speculation.
I don't know. That's what I said. I just meant like I think that they're more. Usually, it's more naturalistic, I guess, and I
agree with y'all.
Gotcha. Now I might have to figure out. I was just going to edit out that entire yelling match because it was a lot of yelling. I was going to edit it all out. Now I might have to figure out a way to work it back at it.
Nelson really pissed me off.
Yeah. All right. Next part. Go ahead.
Yeah, Cal. Where are we at?
I don't know.
So he says if Galbraith Glover's like, Joffrey killed your own father. And Rob's like, that makes him evil. It doesn't make Renly king.
I'll kill him, and then Tommen will be the next king.
Exactly. Like, even if we kill Joffrey, which I intend to do, then Tommen is the next king. So, like, Rob's like, what the fuck's our plan here? And Piper's like, again, Piper, he's just was always chiming in. He's like, Tommen's just as much of a Lannister. And Rob's like, even so, Stannis comes before Renly just because, like, just like I come before Brandon, doesn't matter. Like, even if we set both of them aside, like you say, they're both Lannisters, it doesn't make sense that we should support Renly.
You know what's really crazy is that all 4 names that we've mentioned, Renly, Stannis, Joffrey, and Tommen, are Baratheons. They're all Baratheons, and they're just getting classified as Lannisters.
Well, that's why there's this question of who's who. But they're not, though, and that was what I was going to say, is that he says he's Joffrey is Robert's eldest true-born son, which he's not.
So Rob thinks.
Yeah, I know. That's, I guess, what I'm getting is we're getting a little insight into he still doesn't have any of that knowledge of it. And I mean, why would he? But
will he?
Does Catelyn have any knowledge?
So I guess
we said Stannis had it.
Let's start trying to get predictions from Kyle.
No, you said that. We know Stannis was around for a lot of it. You should know.
I feel like we should try to get predictions from you at like certain points. So like, what do you think? Like, do these guys ever figure it out? Like, do the North people ever figure this out?
Does Catelyn know? Did Ned tell Catelyn?
No.
Ned didn't know shit when Catelyn was there.
Ned told who? Peter?
Cersei.
Nobody.
Peter.
Ned gave Fat Tom a letter to put directly into Stannis' hands, but then Fat Tom got killed in the throne room with Ned.
Yeah. So he told Cersei and
I think we hear about. I think we hear. Yeah, and I think we hear like somebody later says that they found the letter, and like basically we know the letter never got sent.
I mean, I don't know that it becomes common knowledge. I don't know.
All right. So, at some point, Catelyn speaks up about peace. Like,
so hold on, before Catelyn speaks up, Mark Piper speaks up again, and when Mage agrees that like Rob's like, yeah, it's not possible. Like, Stannis comes before Renly, just like I come before Bran. Mage is like, yeah, you're right. Stannis has a better claim. And Mike Piper's like, it doesn't fucking matter. Renly is literally crowned. He has Highgarden and Storm's End behind him. Dorne will probably be up behind him soon. If we both join him, we'll have 5 out of 7 of the great houses. And if Lysa does fucking anything, we'll have 6 of 7. It's game over. Like, what are you guys talking about? Like,
it's kind of like the fray.
Mark Piper's like, who gives a fuck what you're talking about? Look at what's happening right now. This can be over in a year. We can have all their heads on spikes. What are you talking about?
It's kind of like the fray argument.
K-Van.
Even K-Van.
No.
K-Van.
No. It's very similar to the fray argument. It's just being a little bit more aggressive in it to like, hey, these guys are going to be the winner. Let's go with them now. Where the Freys are like, well, I want to pick the winner. Let's just wait to see who.
We can definitely be the winner and kill the Lannisters. If
well, and to be fair, I mean, they were always on the anti-Lannister side here for a while. Like, I don't think that's like them flip-flopping to try and pick a winner.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like,
and we even hear this when Catelyn starts speaking up. Like, she's still like, please, you give me Cersei in a room and I'm going to beat the shit out of her.
Yeah, pretty much Rob, like, they're like, hey, we have these two options and one's obviously better. And Rob's like, just because it's a better option doesn't mean it's right. And Mark Piper's like, who gives a fuck? Just look at what would, like, think about it. Just think about what would happen if we did it. We got to do it. Mm-hmm. And then Rob just says, or he says, what does Lord Stannis have against that we should cast it all aside? And Rob says, the right. And Kat thought that she sounded eerily like
it's
Ned.
Just a Ned thing.
It's just a Ned thing. It's like yep, no, I don't care.
The only option is the honorable option.
It's like,
right?
yeah, I'll just stick my head out right here. I don't give a fuck. I'll say the stupid thing and save my honor. I don't give a fuck what happens to me.
Yeah, and exactly. That's what I was gonna say. And where'd that get Ned?
It's like I think maybe that's why I thought Mike Piper maybe he doesn't talk a lot. I just think that this point that he makes is just like. So you said that you thought that it sounded like Kyle thought that going to Castle Rock was the best idea. I think Mark Piper's idea is the best idea. You literally either Lysa joins you or she does nothing. So it's either 5v6.
You quote unquote bend the knee to Renly and go to Castle Rock and fuck everybody up there.
I like the chill at River Run and cut off supply plan.
I agree with that, Jeff. That I think is the right play personally.
Mm-hmm.
Rest your soldiers. I like the resting of the soldiers the best.
But I think like I said, I think the play that if you wanted to wipe the Lannisters out completely forever, I think that would be the other play.
Yeah, that's true.
So basically, Edmure's like, so does this mean you're going to go declare for Stannis? Because Rob seems to only care about the right.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob's like, I don't know what I want to do. Gods didn't fucking answer me, so we talked about that a second ago.
Let's talk about the gods real quick.
No, we're past that.
Catelyn speaks up.
Before that, Joff's like, Rob's
Joffrey.
Like, Joff is the rightful king. We're traitors. Like, just because he's a fucking dick, that doesn't make us not traitors for doing what we're doing if he's the rightful king.
Well, what I didn't understand there, right? So, like he said, the Lannisters killed my father for a traitor, and we know that was a lie. But if Joffrey is the lawful king, which isn't he currently technically the lawful king? So that's not an if, right?
Yep.
And we fight against him, which they are actively fighting against him.
Yep.
We will be traitors, it says, but they are.
Exactly. It's like if A and B, which are both true currently, then C. Yeah. It's like, okay, well then C. Like, you're traitors.
Okay, well then C.
Rob basically just said we're traitors. Everyone, we are traitors.
So I mean, so why is he so worried about becoming a traitor? I guess is what I'm saying. He already is technically.
To the point of them not knowing that Joffrey's a bastard, there had to be some rumor of Ned's. What was Ned trying? What do they think Ned was trying to do? The rumor out there was that he was trying to take the throne.
No, so Cat said what? So early. So okay, I know this was literally like over a year ago. Early Cat chapter where they get a letter from Lysa saying, "Hey, my husband died."
Right, the
Lannisters.
The
glass, right? That came with the.
It came with the lens.
Yeah, and they burned it. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And
this was fishy.
That letter basically said, "My husband died." I'm pretty sure she either said the Queen did it or the Lannisters did it.
Right.
And and Kat's like, you have to go figure this out. Something fishy's going on. And I think the letter might have said the king's in danger or something like that, or they deduced the king was in danger or something. Mm-hmm. And that is what like kind of sent Ned down there. It's like, you got to go figure this out now. So Ned went down there for the Jon Arryn thing.
Right.
They weren't going down there to figure out like.
Sure.
Incest might be indirectly involved in the Jon Arryn thing, right. But like
I guess my point was
figure out
was when they found out Ned was taking capture. What was the rumor about why he was taking capture? Like, did they just say like, oh nope, treason, he's captured?
He
They said he was
betrayed.
taking the throne.
He tried to
That's
overthrow
what-
the rightful Joffrey and Joffrey to become the king.
But nothing. Yeah, it was just like Ned wanted to be king. Basically, is what leaked out. Okay.
We get the quick thing from the Frey guy that Jeff mentioned earlier, where basically he says, "Just let him duke it out and choose the winner."
That is true. I didn't put that. I don't know why I didn't put that together, but that is why Frey would say that, because that's like his game plan always.
Yeah. So again, it's been a little while since we read some of those, but they called him the late Lord Frey because that's pretty much exactly what he did to the Robert's Rebellion. Was he just showed up after Robert won and was like, "Yeah, dang it, I was late to the battle. Fuck, I was gonna join you guys though."
Well, Great John's like, nah, fuck that. That's gonna make us look weak. He says, fuck all that. We can never give up. Never give up Jaime, the Kingslayer.
Yeah, because the first thing he says is like, let's just wait it out. But then the second thing he says is, I'll go there and just offer a truce. And then they're like, no, that'll make us fucking look weak. And Kat's like, what's wrong with peace?
He said, my lady. Rob looks at her after she's
Rob
like, how about peace?
He's like, they fucking
She's
killed.
like, look, yeah, they killed Dad.
They killed.
Pretty much. That's what he says. Like,
what are you talking about?
He took out his sword and he said, the only piece I have for the Lannisters is a piece of this fucking blade here, you know.
And that's when everyone starts popping off. And then Kat, this is when Kat like gives her first little speech. Basically, she says like, I know you guys all love Ned. He was a goat, but I was his fucking wife. Okay, slept with a dude. She's like, if your sword, if there's anything you could do to bring Ned back with that sword, awesome. I'd never let you put it down. But he's fucking gone. There's nothing you can do about it already. I've literally said this a million times to this podcast. Some cost fallacy. Like at this point, it's already gone. There's no use in what you're saying anymore. Why do more people need to die? Like at this point, if we just drop everything and leave, that's the best thing for everyone in this room, right? And all these other people.
It is and it isn't though. Like because they've lost so much, and like it's some cost fallacy doesn't quite work with lives. I don't think.
For sure, it's different.
I think it's a little different.
Obviously it's different, but if you're just being strictly logical, it's just a slot machine. You just put.
So you just fucking walk away. You just like.
That's what you're supposed to do with gambling.
Yeah, just because you put X amount in so far doesn't mean the next time is going to be better, right? That's not 100% true in real life because they are potentially at a better strategic advantage now than they would be if they just retreated and went the whole way back north. So they could just get back to here, which is like.
And they'd forever be like kind of living with the enemy close by. Like, I mean, it's not peace.
But when you look at,
I don't think
in terms of loved ones that you have lost, if you don't continuing this, is you're only going to lose more. You're never like, sure, you might kill some of theirs, but it's kind of, that's Kat's argument. It's like, who gives a fuck if we kill some of theirs? We're just going to lose some more of our own. What's the point at this point? And her argument, I think she gets into it next, is she basically says, so what you guys are saying is kind of what Great John and Karstark say. Is like, you don't fucking understand. You have the gentle heart. Like we literally have a need for vengeance. She's like, if you gave me Cersei, you'd fucking see what
I don't agree.
Is.
Yeah, I don't agree with you. Say I'm agreeing with him on that. I don't think like she doesn't have a place to say this. I think she's coming from a very logical place. I think it's a valid point. I just think that like you don't mobilize and march an entire army halfway down the fucking island here and then like just like, well, Ned's dead, we got to turn around now. Like I think they started a job.
I agree with you, Kyle.
So
they started a job that is not finished.
So her very next point is the opposite of what you just said. She says we had two jobs: save the Riverlands and save Ned. One is done and one can never be accomplished. So our job's done here. Why are we still here? So she literally says the exact opposite. So obviously we know that that's not true. We know that Gregor is literally about to start burning and raping everyone in the Riverlands.
Well, yeah, that's I guess what I was getting at. It's like I don't think the Riverlands are ever going to be safe as long as the Lannisters are surrounding
Seemingly,
it or near it.
The North isn't acknowledging that right now. It seems like in this meeting they think Tywin's going to be occupied with friendly. So while I agree with you, obviously Tywin just gave this order that's going to cause some trouble in the Riverlands. The decision they're making. Sure, they might be making the right decision based on what's actually going to happen, but they're not making the right decision based on what they think's going to happen, is my argument.
Well, and even what I was saying, though, is like, even if you make peace with these people for now, like pretend the mountain stuff isn't going to happen, like even if they make peace with them now, who knows what's going to set it back off in the future, you know? And so like this is always going to be a tumultuous relationship, and they're your fucking neighbors, pretty much. Like I don't think there is peace to be had with them.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I just think it's incredibly selfish for Catelyn to just think, oh, give me my 2 daughters, we'll give you the 4 Lannisters, call it even, and we'll just go home. It's just stupid. Like
that's definitely just on her mind. I don't know if it's
it makes it seem like that's all she cares about.
The funny thing though was didn't Tywin or Tyrion say like you'd have to be a fucking idiot to give up
Jaime for 2 girls? Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's 1 for 2.
And they've got 3 other ones, which I don't even know if we've talked about who the other 3 are. Some cousins, and a.
When they actually don't even have 2 daughters.
Yeah,
right.
They only have 1.
Right.
Yeah, it's that's the thing is it's all about who doesn't know. A lot of this book is all about who doesn't know what.
Yeah, just put yourself in Richard Karstark's shoes, where you're sitting there listening to Catelyn say, "None of what we just did matters now because Ned's dead. Let's just go home. As long as I get my 2 daughters." I don't think
that's what she's saying. Basically, though. She's just saying there's nothing more to be done.
And and you've got Richard Karstark there, who's like, "No, I'm gonna fucking."
But time out. Hold on. So he doesn't know, but his eldest son is with Roose, and we know his eldest son's captured, but he doesn't know what happened to his eldest son. So yeah, he's probably worried about his eldest son. But if like Roose escaped with more than half of his men, he might assume his eldest son is fine, right? And in which point, Cat is making a very reasonable point. I came south to support like this cause with 3 sons. 2 of them are dead. I'm literally on my last heir. It's a good. We've accomplished as much as we're going to accomplish. It's a good point to turn heels and run. So I agree. Karstark has definitely lost. Like he's basically the lord that we've heard has directly lost like the most in terms of like living kin. But I still think that Cat's point of view is could be reasonable to him because he has another son. Again, from what we know, his son's captured by the Lannisters, but he doesn't know that. She could be making a very valid point. This is going to save my heir if we get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and I said, I think it is a valid point, but I think I think there's too much. And again, I think some of her motive is that she feels guilty for all this as well. You know,
she should.
I mean, that's kind of
no, absolutely.
She
sparked the whole fucking thing.
Everyone's death is on her hands.
Yeah, and so she doesn't want to continue that. So I think that's kind of part of why she's trying to pull out. But at the same time, like I said, I think she has a good point. I just don't think that you can trust the Lannisters to hold up their deal.
And that's exactly what Brendan says, right? The first comeback when Brendan, as soon as she says this, Brendan says, "Peace is sweet, my lady, but on what terms? It's no good hammering your sword into a plowshare if you must forge again on the morrow." Right? Like, sure, if we go home and go back and we start growing crops and everything, how the fuck do we know that the Lannisters aren't going to fight us the next day? Like, let's finish it here. We're already here.
It's or even in 10 years, like I said, or 20 years. Like, how long can you trust them for?
Yep. Brendan just said it in a way more poetic way than you.
Yeah.
So then, along Jeff's lines, Karstark speaks next, and he's like, "What did Torrhen and Eddard die for? If I am to return to Karhold with nothing but their bones?" Again, I think he's being a little short-sighted. He has another son that potentially, to all he knows, is alive. Jonas Bracken is the next one. "Gregor Clegane laid waste to my field, slaughtered my small folk, and left Stonehenge a smoking ruin. Am I now to bend the knee to the ones who sent him? What have we fought for if we were to put it all back as we were before?" And then even the Blackwoods agreed with Bracken's and said, "And if we do make peace with Joffrey, what happens if Joffrey fucking loses? We're still shit out of luck because somebody else is going to win."
Well, and then they're traitors to Renly.
Exactly. If Renly wins, then they're traitors to somebody.
Mm-hmm. So then who's the big dog that steps up?
Piper says first, "I don't give a fuck what you guys are all doing. I'll never call Lannister my king." And Derry, who I think is like Bran's age.
Yeah, they said he was like Bran's age, I think. Who is Derry?
Just another house in the Riverlands.
We've heard it before. They stop at that house on the way down south from Wyvern. They stop at Raymond Derry's house. So we've heard Raymond Derry, who's this guy's dad, and then that guy's dad dies at the Golden Tooth, which is Castle Rock's here and Wyvern's here. Golden Tooth's in the middle.
Golden Tooth was between.
So when Jaime came, there was a battle at the Golden Tooth, and Jaime, that guy's dad. Yeah. So this kid is the new Lord. I don't know. They didn't actually. I don't think they mentioned it too well in this chapter, but he is the new Lord because his dad died. So yeah, everyone's basically after the kid speaks up, everyone starts shouting. Cat looks at him, and Cat thinks that he had pledged himself to marry a daughter of Walder Frey, but she saw his true bride plain before her now, the sword that was laid on the table. Basically saying like this war is all that really matters to Robb, I guess.
Which I don't think is fair either. I don't know that I agreed with that, but
I don't know if I don't think Robb really gives a fuck about the marriage either way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but I don't think like the war is his wife.
Yeah, theoretically, like the war ends and then something else happens, right? Like the wife is forever. So then, I mean, I guess you can get a divorce.
I guess so. Maybe get it an old.
Cat. So then this is when Great John stands up, right? Basically, right after that.
Yep.
You want me to say it?
Go ahead.
My lords,
he shouted, his voice booming off the rafters.
Here is what I say to these two kings.
He spat.
Renly Baratheon is nothing to me, nor Stannis neither. Why should they rule over me and mine, from some flowery seat in Highgarden or Dorne? What do they know of the wall, or the Wolf's Wood, or the barrows of the first men? Even their gods are wrong. The others take the Lannisters too. I've had a belly full of them.
He reached back over his shoulder and drew his immense two-handed greatsword.
Why shouldn't we rule ourselves again? It was the dragons we married, and the dragons are all dead.
He pointed at Robb with the blade.
There sits the only king I mean to bow my knee to, my lords.
He thundered.
The king of the north!
And he knelt and laid his sword at her son's feet.
I'll have peace on those terms,
Lord Karstark said.
They can keep their red castle and their iron chair as well.
He eased his longsword from his scabbard.
The king of the north,
he said, kneeling beside the Great John. So then Mage kneels. All the other river lords who Cat notes had never been ruled from Winterfell before all start shouting as well. And as she says, something like the old words that hadn't been heard since Aegon the Conqueror had made the Seven Kingdoms one were now ringing from the timbers of her father's halls.
the king in the north, the king in the north.
I think I did a pretty good
king in the north.
That's good, Great John. Also, quick reminder about the Great John: he got 2 of his fingers bitten off by fucking Grey Wind earlier in the book. So this dude's a fucking badass.
Yes, he is. What, you guys didn't like my Karstark? Jeez.
Nah, you were awful.
You got better as it went.
No effort. It sounded like a South Park character, like, the North, King of the North.
King of the North. Well, I didn't want to sound like Umber, so I had to change it up. All right.
That's how they all sound. That's how, if you're a northerner, you just have like a deep, raspy voice.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you get sent to the wall. That's the thing about the North.
What, so everyone at the wall has a high voice?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
All eunuchs on the wall.
All right.
Yeah, I don't.
Predictions, Kyle?
I see their play, but like dissolving the Seven Kingdoms.
So one thing is we really don't know their play.
They're dissolving the kingdoms. It sounds like that's
or at least 2 kingdoms. You know,
so like,
2 of 7.
but like if I asked you where's Robb going in the next chapter? He could be king. He could go back to Winterfell. He could be king. He could attack Castle Rock.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, you're right, 100%. Yeah, no, they didn't.
If he's king in the north, he could even still side with Joffrey or Renly and just give them the south if that's something they had agreed to. So it's like, yeah, sure. I think there's a really cool resolution to this chapter, but like, there's really not. They discussed all these options.
It's still a cliffhanger to where they're going next.
And that's kind of what I was saying. It wrapped up this fighting arc, but it didn't. It left it open for the next one.
Yeah, they had this huge argument this entire chapter, and then it seems like they came to a resolution at the end. But if you think about it, they didn't. They're still like,
I mean,
they're talking about some questions.
They did to the point of like, who are they going to call king?
Okay, but
that's a big part of it. That was a big part of the argument. Like, who do we call? Renly, Joffrey, Stannis, Tommen? None of these guys. We don't really like any of those guys. Oh, fuck it. We'll just call it Robert. But you're right. We don't know what they're doing.
But the title, they knew they were gonna. They knew Robb was gonna be their leader no matter what.
But as a liege lord or a king, it's a big difference.
I mean, is it though? Like is it really though? As like a bannerman?
Not as a bannerman, but as a whole, as the North, as the North, it's a lot different.
As a unit,
I don't know that Robb really wants this. I'm going to throw that out there too.
I think this was his plan all along.
Not really.
He's like, I'm going to make this as open-ended as possible so they pick me instead.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think this was ever his plan, was to be the king. I think I said that in a couple chapters ago when we were talking about Stannis and Renly and whatnot. I don't think that was Rob's goal ever, was to sit in the Iron Throne.
Did anyone spoil this for you?
What?
Jeff said Jeff had called Rob King of the North in a recent chapter.
Literally the last Catelyn, one of the last chapters I called him King of the North. And
so, I mean, there's so many titles with these people. I mean, I already kind of thought he was King of the North kind of thing.
Nelson gave me so much shit for it too.
Well, Kyle made a weird face.
Kyle
made a weird face when you said it, but it was one of those things where I think you just like brushed it off. So I don't know.
I try not to, like I said, I try not to focus too hard on what you guys get into because of I know this stuff comes out.
Also, I slip up on names a lot. It's probably an artifact of having to drink while we're doing the podcast. But like the last Danny chapter I recorded, I literally said Jorah every single time I meant to say Drogo. Like I don't think I said Drogo one time when I meant to say Drogo.
Dude, you screw up all the time.
Like, I never
dude, today you called Catelyn Hoster.
Well, you guys were late to the podcast. I've been drinking for a while.
Whatever, dude.
Kyle, anything else?
No, like I said, so I don't really know where he goes from here because I mean, King of the North makes it sound like he goes north, but I think something is going to happen in terms of like Stannis showing up or Renly doing something. I think something's going to happen that's going to force her hand. How's that?
So, like, someone attacking the Riverlands and raping all the people, would that force them to do something?
Oh, yeah, true. I forgot about that happening still. They're still going out. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so, I mean, I think, Tywin is going to force her hand, and they're going to go to Harrenhal, which is not going to go well for anybody because it's cursed.
I like it. All right, I think that's it, boys. Kyle, it was good hanging out, bud. We'll see you on the next episode for Daenerys 10. Everyone else, get ready for the spoiler section. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun,
dun. See you guys.
Bye.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
See you later, Cal. It was great hanging out, bud. We'll see you on the next show for Daenerys 10. And now, on to the spoiler section for Catelyn 11. Boys, what are your hot takes for this episode?
Full disclosure, we're doing the spoiler section. We're recording the spoiler section before the normal section just because I feel like sometimes we repeat ourselves, and when I edit it, I'm like, well, that sounds weird. We might as well just say it up front. And if we don't, I'll just cut this out. All right, so it sounds like you guys don't have too many points for this one, so I'll let Jeff go first so I don't steal anything.
Well, I don't want to bring this one up because I think it'll steal. Chloe, you don't have anything?
No.
Not one thing, not even like your go-to answer.
So how about Rob's with Direwolf, Rob's with Grey Wind at the very beginning, and he scares the guards when that's about all that really happens with Grey Wind, right? Like he has his hand, he's patting him on the head.
No, I wasn't even saying the dog or the Direwolf. One of them, I think it's Peace is sweet. Yeah, someone says Peace is sweet.
Oh shit!
Oh, I wonder if Brendan says that.
Brendan or Karstark or
Brendan
Umber,
says Brendan says something about peace for sure when Kat says that. Brendan says, peace is sweet, yeah, you're right. Peace is sweet, my lady, but on what terms? It's no good hammering your sword into a plowshare if you must forge her again on tomorrow.
So, like, is peace actually sweet, or is it to, like, the point where some sweet stuff in this book so far has been actually bad? And I just think it's interesting because at no point in this book do we ever see, or the books to come, do we actually see peace, right? Someone's always fighting somewhere. Something's always going on.
Yeah. And without going too into it, again, George is pretty pacifist. And what's weird here is Kat has Kat has a pretty very firm stance in this chapter. And again, we might talk to Kyle about peace. She wants peace. She doesn't not want any vengeance. Like literally people are like, you don't understand vengeance, and she's like, vengeance won't bring Ned back, blah, 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 blah. Well, what happens to Kat 3 books from now?
She becomes vengeful Kat.
Literally complete 180. Like, that is like her only, like, not even her main motivation, but literally the only motivation.
I think it's also weird that she's coming at this very selfishly.
Yeah, I want my boys. You guys can't have nothing.
She's like, oh, I'll no doubt trade these 4 Lannisters for my two girls. Like,
yeah.
Like, not like there's no bigger picture to what's going on. And she like tries to bring up like, oh, we're not going to bring your sons back. We're not going to bring your dad back. But everybody is so angry, and she's just like, no, we're going to give up everything we just fought for just for Arya and Sansa. That's it. That's all she truly wants.
So do you, I guess let's start off with, do you guys think, I think Kat's right here.
I think she's absolutely wrong.
Maybe not 100% right, but you definitely can't. You got to go more peaceful than they end up going. Like they literally just go 100% against them. Like Kat's right. Like Kat's right. You could get away from this right now, and everyone just goes home happy. As far as the North's concerned, you could just go home happy. So like I understand, like yeah, they fucked us up and everything, but I've said it a bunch of times I think in this podcast, and Kyle always tells me I'm stupid and you can't think like this. But it's the sunk cost fallacy, right? Like if you're a gambler, you think that because you've put $100 into the slot machine, your next quarter is more likely to be the win because you've already sunk so much. Like I've already put this much in, I might as well keep going. That's the mentality it's like a very negative mentality. And like
if you got that mentality, you need to call 1-800-GAMBLER and figure out what's going on in your head.
That's like that's mentality all over these books. Right?
I mean that's like a very I feel like it's a very extreme kind of mindset. Like not
exactly, but objectively, if you look at the story where we're at right here, the best course of action, like in terms of like lives saved and everyone, if you have no like vengeance or anything, like you hold no grudges, it's everyone just go home and just drop everything, right?
But then what would have been the point to anything that they've done to this point?
They were trying to free Ned and free River Run.
We're definitely going to be retreading some of this. Like we'll definitely talk about some of this with Kyle, but yeah, like Kat says, like. The point of this war, there was 2 reasons: to save Ned and to stop the fight in the Riverlands. And she's like, we accomplished one, and the other one is never going to be accomplished. Why are we still fighting?
We find out in like a hot second that the mountain is burning half of the Riverlands down.
Well, we found out last chapter. Yeah, Tywin's literally just like fuck everything up. But you're right. You're right there. But from the Northerners don't know that right now.
I just think it's such a joke. I mean, I just feel like you've gone too far as the North, and this is like I'm just imagining kind of like
I'm a hothead. Like if I was actually in this situation, there's no way I'd just be like, all right, I'll wash my hands with it and go home. Like 100%
absolutely
in the position you're on your side. But if you think about it logically, Kat's right here.
If they don't know about the Gregor shit, then yeah, I think Catelyn might be right. However, I think they still need to claim him king of the North and secede. That would be the most peaceful way. They're free of each other. They're never going to bow down to a Lannister like they're saying. To maintain peace, you would have to still secede.
I just don't understand. I don't understand. Like, I just feel like if you were like, this is basically like lower management striking, or not even low, just like lower workers striking against management, right? For higher pay or more time off or anything like that. And they take off weeks of work and they're not getting paid because of the strike. And all of a sudden, just because, I don't know, a holiday weekend came, they're like, all right, fuck it, we'll go back to work because we got this weekend off. Like, I don't, like, it's just like you took so much to get nothing. They really got nothing. Even if they get Sansa and Arya and just give every Lannister back, nothing, absolutely nothing came from the war. And if I was one of these houses that was completely, especially not even the North, forget about the North, think about these River Run houses that were burnt to the ground, like the Bracken, or I forget which one it was. What did you like? Why would I ever support you again if once you got what you wanted, we just bail?
Yeah,
it just doesn't make any sense at all to me.
Yeah, for sure. And I think 100%. Like if anybody's actually in that situation, it's really hard to do what Kat's saying here. But like it makes sense. Like, and I don't know.
It's definitely an option. It's definitely an option. But I feel like that's if you're the losing side option. They're winning right now, technically. They've won everything that they've wanted to do.
Well, that's the thing that all the lords have, too, is, yes, even if they wanted to do it, most of them are probably too prideful to do it anyway because of that, right? Like, even if they thought it was the best choice, they don't want to be the guy who has to go and be like, oh, I give up. Can we just, like, call it a truce? Because you're right. It makes you look weak.
But and if you're the ones calling the truce, if you're the North, in my opinion, you're like, look, we're kicking your ass right now. So we're going to call a truce to help you and stop killing your men. So you're going to give us Sansa and Arya back. We'll give you your prisoners. But this is also what's going to happen. Like, we're going to govern ourselves. And I don't know. If there's like taxes that come into play and whatnot.
That's the only way that they could break away and be winners is if they seceded.
Well, I mean, it's what they say in the chapter too. Like they think the pretext of any truce would be okay, they'll tell one side, either I'll side with you or I won't directly oppose you as long as you kind of leave me alone. Right? So whether you go to Tywin or Renly, it's, hey, maybe I won't back you. I want to be king.
But I won't join the other side.
Yeah, but I'm not doing shit, so do your thing. So that seems like kind of the best option, which isn't what they do, right? Even at the end of this chapter, we really don't know what they're going to do next. They could do that. They could just pull out. Even though Rob's king in the north, they could just pull out first chapter next book, right?
Right. I mean, other than the fact that Arya and Sansa are still missing in King's Landing, or they think that they're missing in King's Landing, they could just, what's stopping them from just pulling back north, saying, fuck it, we're going to take everything north of Moat Cailin, and I don't give a shit what's going on down here. Is King's Landing or anybody south really that upset? Because they talk so much shit on the north, like it's a different sector of people, right? They have different gods.
Says it, like when he names Rob, he's like, I don't give a fuck about any of these people. So like, what are you doing here? Just go back then.
Right. Like, and they even bring it up, like, all right, you were scared of the dragons, right? That's why.
And what happens next chapter?
Danny gets some dragons.
What happens next book, I meant, for the North? 100% invaded and taken over by the Ironborn because they don't go north and they just leave the entire thing undefended.
Yeah.
It's like, if you go back, you're way better right now. Sure, name Rob King and go and do your thing, do that. But get the fuck out of here. Like, you don't.
I think what I would do is like, all right, fuck it. Like, we can't go get Ned anymore. Right now, Arya and Sansa are probably locked up in the Red Keep, and we probably don't have enough men to go take it over. Let's go north with the prisoners. Yeah, until they truly want them back, and then we'll just give them a fair trade. We'll cut ties with the Seven Kingdoms. We'll be the North and call it a day.
Yeah,
I think that's the only way you stop fighting.
I think the only problem with that is the Gregor thing.
The Gregor and the Riverlands joining.
Yeah, that is. So really, it would become the Five Kingdoms, I guess, or whatever. It is crazy that the Riverlands bowed to him as the King of the North. Like, do they become the North? Like, they're not going to take the old gods. Like, I don't know. That part doesn't.
Yeah,
really makes sense.
I feel like a lot of what we just talked about, we're probably going to talk about. Like, there wasn't too many spoilers in a lot of that. It's a lot from the chapter. So let's go. I'm going to go into my first note. There's a quote about Kat's heart lifting. She's like, I don't think my heart will ever lift again. I don't know. I just thought maybe Stoneheart reference.
I know. What was the context?
It's right at the beginning when she's going like through the portcullis.
Through the portcullis.
Yeah. I've cheering for her.
It's true. She never really gets happier.
Well, I mean, just like the whole Stoneheart. Anytime I hear heart,
when does the Red Wedding happen? The third book? Like, we've got some time to get there.
Book and a
half.
half.
The third, right?
Oh my god, it's crazy. Like, I don't remember what's Kat's storyline in book 2.
She goes to see Renly and meets Brienne and comes back and frees Jaime. She frees Jaime at the end of it. Yeah, I mean, what do you mean? There's a chapter where she gets sent there. There's one or two where she's with Renly. Renly dies. She literally is in the chapter, like in the tent where Renly dies.
I'm just trying to think, like, if she has 11 chapters again, like, what is actually going on? Like,
then we probably learn about the shit where Rob goes west, right? And then Edmure fucks some shit up and actually crosses the river when he shouldn't have crossed the river. And then Rob gets pissed. He's like, you would have known when I came back. Again, some of that's show.
Right,
but a lot of it's the same from the book.
You know what I was thinking of? I'm just upset that Rob wasn't a POV character.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool to get his
any reason why he wasn't?
George has said in interviews that he's thought about it and like he plays with it, but he thinks it's good the way it is. But
I don't think it's bad, but just think of
if he could like redo everything, he would do that. He would write Rob POVs, and he's not saying he would put him in, but he would see how he liked it afterwards and then choose.
Yeah, give me like a Rob Whispering Wood, just kind of like. Think about what Rob is actually thinking while all these lords are yelling at him in this one, and then they're like, holy shit, King of the North.
I think part of that is why it's cool that he doesn't have chapters, because you don't know what's going on. And like in this chapter, one of the notes I have, it just says, Rob is Ned in this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took over Ned's persona.
Like all his actions, he goes to the Godswood. He doesn't really speak. The first time he speaks is when he says, Renly's not the king. Like, we can support Renly. Everything would be great, because fuck Joffrey, and Renly seems pretty cool. And he's like, he's not the king. Like that, and Kat's like, well,
how can we support him?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just 100% Ned. This whole thing.
I think it would just be really cool to see the transformation of boy at Winterfell to King of the North in like truly a kid's eyes. Like, holy shit! Like, I'm actually going to go kill people in battle. Like it's just like
I'm rolling people.
Like we don't truly see that side because it's Kat and she's not in the battles. Like we get to see him coming back and like. he gains all this confidence from being just a kid to being the king, which I just thought it would be cool. Yeah. I only have one quote, and I don't want you to steal it, Nelson, just in case you have it.
Go ahead.
All right, and this was the one that I'm pretty jacked up about.
All right, let's see it.
It's not like anything crazy, but when he lays his sword down and Catelyn brings up that he's supposed to marry Walder Frey's wife.
Yeah.
And she's like, but this sword is actually his wife.
His real wife is, like the war or whatever.
Okay. So then we know that he finds Jean Westerling, however, and he technically is cheating on his sword for Jean Westerling.
Okay.
Which, come full circle, is the end of him. She's the end of the whole thing, right? The marriage to her. Like if he would have just stayed to his sword, stayed true to the sword, who knows what happens? They might not lose.
They probably win, honestly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's some weird hints about. There's some weird. I like. That's definitely a weird quote. How Kat's like talking about the whole like marriage already, like this early on. There's definitely something like. It's just obviously George knew. Like obviously George knew that
George's like he's never marrying this Walder Frey daughter.
But there is like interesting stuff with the phrase here, where Lord Stefan, like when they're all like throwing out different ideas, Stefan Frey's like first off he says my father would counsel that we just wait. And just like let the dust settle, and then just choose the winning side. He'd be like, straight up, like
it's exactly what he said.
He just straight up says it, and then secondly, he says, "Or we could sue for peace, and I'll personally go to Harrenhal and talk to Tywin and like get terms." It's like,
no, you're not going.
And then we know later the phrase set up this like secret deal with the Lannisters. Like it's just so sketchy that they're obviously trying to do that kind of shit this early on.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't make. I mean. It just like tells you right there, like the Freys are fucking shady as fuck. Like we can't do this. But I just was like, damn, like I never would have thought of that the first time I read through. Like Kyle was probably reading over that quote, like blah blah blah, whatever. He likes his sword, and the marriage to the sword and cheating on. If he didn't cheat on his sword,
I like that.
It's exactly. He like. Breaks his honor, and it ends up like fucking over the thing that he like needs and wants the most, which is in this moment is what Kat's fading is like the sword. His marriage is there's like this war, like all this vengeance, like doing the right thing.
I mean, he definitely changes his priorities from just killing and sword and vengeance to wow, I actually love this girl now. I want to have a kid with her. And
I think for Robb, the sword represents not even like as much like vengeance as it just does like justice. Like more like righteous, justice and honor instead of like vengeance
right.
I mean, like there's definitely some vengeance in there, but it's I don't know for some reason I feel like it's more honorable the way like Robb's doing it, like just like the fact that he's saying like his decisions seem like they're made from the right place with what he's saying with Robb. Like he literally even says even if I kill Joffrey, which I plan to do, Tommen is king next. Like that's the rule,
right.
Like, which I again is interesting because they don't
like Ned.
Yeah, for sure. It's exactly what Ned was trying to do. He's like, I don't give a fuck if these kids are the worst and the Lannisters are the worst. That's the rule. That's what's gonna happen. Like Ned was trying to like uphold that. Like, well, not like these kids, but try to keep them alive and everything.
And it gets them killed.
Do you have anything about Stannis, Nelson? Like, I just feel like it's weird that nobody is really like, oh no, Stannis should be the guy.
So the first chapter in the next book, which is 2 chapters from now, right? We have Dany, then Maester
Are we
Crescent.
Gonna do Theon? Oh, Maester Crescent.
Yeah, Maester Crescent.
Yeah, Crescent
is
literally
dies, right? He just like, well, Stannis. I don't know if it's this one.
Is that the first book, or is that the end of this book, or is it the same thing?
The prologue.
There's a Theon. Oh, so we're not going to read Theon in
there's no
the
Theon
end of
at this book. Yeah, Theon's like
Who's the end of this one. Oh,
there's no epilogue.
There's no epilogue
in Game of Thrones.
I have it right here. I'm showing you.
That's not the epilogue.
Is that Game of Thrones?
It's a Theon chapter.
In Game of Thrones?
It's just a special preview.
Yeah, that just must be a Clash. That's a Clash of Kings chapter.
We'll get that again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a Clash of Kings chapter. But the first one is Crescent. But I think it's actually one of the early Davos chapters. Is Stannis just blasts out literally a raven to every single, like he sends out every single raven he has at Dragonstone with the letter about like Joffrey's not real. Like Joffrey's a bastard. Right. So that's Stannis' first move. It just blasts this out to everyone. And also be really grumpy that all the people that probably should be sworn to him actually swore themselves to Renly.
Which I guess really hasn't come out because Ned was like, oh no, it's actually a lie.
Yeah,
like,
he hid it. He died hiding this like horrible lie, just like he died hiding the Jon Snow thing, right? So one or just 2 more little things, and then I have like one thing that I think is a little bit bigger. So first, Derry. There's a Derry boy in this chapter.
Willem Derry?
I remember Derry's from
Willem Derry is one of the people that rescues Dany.
Okay, I wasn't thinking.
That's the old guy. He used to be the master. He was the master at arms in King's Landing. He rescues Dany
takes him
from Dragonstone. He's the one who ferries
Is
him
he
away.
actually across the Narrow Sea too, or did he come
Dany
back?
remembers him dying. That's like in some of the early Dany chapters. She
Wasn't
remembers
that
him
the house
dying
of
in the
Red
house
Door?
with the red door. Exactly. Yeah, in the house with the
I
red
thought
door.
you were gonna bring up Duncan Egg because that's where the tournament is, right?
Oh, so I was going to bring that up too because the Duncan Egg stuff, there's a few things from Duncan Egg. At the tournament, there's some Blackwood Bracken stuff. We'll get back to what I was just saying. At the tournament, there's some Blackwood Bracken stuff, which I don't think... I think I was looking this up. I think the origin of the Blackwood Bracken feud is like way before Duncan Egg. But I think they mentioned something in Duncan Egg where like somebody
they brought it
killed
up
somebody.
in Duncan Egg.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
in like a recent tournament before the one that Dunk's at, like a Blackwood had killed a Bracken in a tournament or vice versa.
Right.
Like
and they've hated each other ever since.
Well, no, I think they'd hated each other for like since before Aegon got here.
Yeah,
but like
wasn't
because
something
they hate
stupid
each
over
other,
like a tree? Wasn't there a
I was
tree
trying
that
to
they
find
fucking
it.
poisoned?
I was trying to find it. Well, yeah. So I think that's like post feud. So from what I found was like the Blackwoods, either the Blackwoods or the Brackens. One of them was from north, and one of them, I think, probably the Blackwoods, since they're the ones that worship the old gods. And for whatever reason, they moved south. The whole family moved south, and then there was this feud between like the neighboring family, which was Blackwoods and Brackens. Now there's this feud. But the other thing that reminded me from Duncan Egg was it was actually more from the Storm Sword. There's a Sworn Sword, which was the second Duncan Egg book. Where it's when Rob was talking about the Joffrey and Tommen stuff. He says, if we support Renly, we're traitors because Joffrey is a true, like...
He's the true king.
He's the true king. And it's like, kind of makes me think of that whole Eustace Osgrey speech where he tells Dunk, like, if the red would have, if like the black dragon would have won instead of the red, they'd be the traitors and not us, and like we'd be the loyal men or like whatever it was called, right, and they'd be the rebels. And it's just kind of like weird, right? Like what claim does Robb have over Renly in this situation? I mean, I guess Robb is claiming King of the North, not King of everything, so it's different in that respect.
It's different, 100%.
It's really weird. We go into the clash of the Five Kings or the War of the Five Kings.
So don't say that. You dropped a little Robb.
I know. I won't say it, but like, there's just no point if you're just the King of the North. Like we've said, get the fuck north then. Take your prisoners and go until you get your prisoners back.
So who are we missing right now?
Stannis and
Balon Greyjoy.
Yeah, Balon. I couldn't think of his name.
Go back to the thing I was saying, that the Darrys are Targaryen supporters. So Willem Darry is the one who helps him get away. In one of the first Dany chapters, when Viserys is telling Dany, like, oh, here are the houses that I think would support us, Darry is one of the ones that they mentioned. The one in this chapter is like a very young kid, probably around Bran's age, because his father, Raymond Darry, died at the Battle of the Gold Fork, which is where Jaime was originally coming west from.
Was chopping people down.
Yeah. And Raymond Darry, the guy who died at the Gold Fork, the only description or like quote or like anything notable that I put in his like note so far was from one of the first, maybe a Tyrion chapter. So Raymond lived under the king's peace, but his family had fought beneath Rhaegar's dragon banners at the Trident, and his 3 older brothers had died there, a truth neither Robert nor Sir Raymond had forgotten. Oh, that was from an Eddard chapter. It was when because they stayed at House Darry on their way south. It's where the whole like the direwolf incident happened, and Ned was basically saying like, yeah, the Darrys and the Baratheons are like not on great terms because they literally fought against each other during Robert's rebellion. So we get that hint. We get Viserys literally saying it. We hear William Darry literally helped the Targaryens, and now this guy is like, he doesn't say much in this chapter. It's just a really young. The new Lord of Darry is a really young kid, and he just shouts like, "I'll never serve a Lannister." He's just like kind of rebellious.
Right. Good for him.
I have another kind of quick question, just off of, is the Darry house where they found like is it the Blackfires or what's the Bastard?
Yeah, Blackfires or the Bastard.
They had like Blackfire pennants, right, and like murals that they had hidden.
Yeah, exactly. Tyrion.
Yeah, they had a bunch of shit.
In a later book, Tyrion recalls that how when they were going north, him and Jaime or maybe Jaime recalls like that he fucked Cersei and that him and Tyrion were walking through the vaults. And well, when they were through the main hall, they noticed that a bunch of the there was like tapestries in the main hall that
Right.
or there was like marks on the wall where like smoke was, and you could tell the tapestry had recently been taken down. And then they were walking in the basement, they found a bunch of rolled up Targaryen tapestries, and like how recently have those been taken down is like kind of what Tyrion and Jaime were thinking.
Yeah.
So like they might still be like Targaryen.
So is there
supporters.
a chance that there's like a whole Fagon thing too here, or an actual Aegon? Maybe they're not even Dany supporters. Maybe they're
Fagon supporters.
And I think I think I mentioned this actually earlier because
Nelson also thinks Varys is a Blackfire or somebody, so that would make sense.
So I think Raymond Derry, the guy who I just mentioned this about, was one of the men who actually comes to Ned. Mark Piper, who's a hothead in this chapter, comes. Remember when they come and they're like, they're burning all my shit. Those people come.
Piper wanted to go out or whatever.
Exactly. I think Piper, Derry, and then Vance were the three who came and were talking to Ned during then. And I think I mentioned to you guys in that there's some theories that Varys is like in connection or talking to several houses that all support Targaryens. Right. And Daenerys would be one of them.
I mean, that makes sense. Right.
And like, maybe he's doing certain things like, again, if they're trying to start a war because of the whole Illyrio Varys thing, Illyria's like, I forget what that conversation they had with Arya, right? They're like, hurry up. The other one's like, slow down. This is like creating war right here, right? So if Varys could be behind that, trying to cause war in the Seven Kingdoms in order to make it better for the Dothrakis to come.
Yeah, but at that same point, doesn't Varys want to slow it down as much as possible right now?
I don't remember which one they were who was telling who what.
Varys wanted
to slow it down. Right?
Varys was like, we're not ready for war.
You better hurry up then.
Yeah. It was definitely Varys trying to be like, hey, we're not ready for war yet, blah, blah, blah.
Over here. And what? He was like, and Illyria was like, the Dothraki are ready. You better fucking get on your high horse. Yeah, so.
Right.
No, it was the other way.
I don't remember.
Oh, right. No, you're right. Varys was like, shit's about to go down here.
That's
Ned's about to find out. And it was like Dothraki.
And he's like, she's pregnant. You got at least a year, is pretty much what Illyria was saying. Like, you better hold off for at least a year. But, again, the timing's kind of weird. Dany just had her baby.
Right.
Timeline's kind of lined up right now. So maybe Varys is like, go, maybe it is go time. Again, that whole Vance Piper thing was way earlier in the book. So
Dany had her baby, but what's his name died?
What?
Drogo.
Viserys and Drogo.
Yeah,
I'm just saying if Varys was trying to time up when shit's going down, shit is kicking off in Westeros at about the time they expected the Dothraki to be ready. You're right, the Dothraki aren't ready because everything just collapsed over there. But like this is theoretically, potentially, this is when they thought the Dothraki would be ready, and it's not. Mm-hmm. So the coolest thing that I think, and definitely the most tinfoil theory, has to do with Euron in this chapter. Euron Greyjoy.
Okay.
The uncle?
The crazy weird uncle who sailed to Valyria and everything.
With purple tongue and shit?
Exactly.
Yeah,
drinks,
one eye?
Yeah, one eye. So Kat's talking to her dad, and what's her dad's symptoms? What's Hoster's symptoms? What's he say?
Crabs in his stomach.
Crabs in my belly. Right. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that is weird.
I'm just saying he has stomach pains, right?
So I'll explain some of these theories to you guys. But if I go to a search of Ice and Fire where it searches everything and I type crab's belly, two things pop up. This quote.
Okay.
And one from the Feast for Crows of the Victarion chapter where Victarion gets back to they've heard Balon's dead. So
Victarion's the priest, right?
Victarion, no, he's like the warfaring.
He's the other brother that's like a military sergeant, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's like the
Stannis of the family.
Yeah, but really dumb. He comes back because we've heard that there's going to be a Kingsmoot. He's like, okay,
it's my turn type shit, right?
Yeah. So he comes back, and the day he gets back, basically he has this reunion with Dampfair, who's the priest guy, and Euron also shows up at the same time. He's like having this big feast, and Yara's there. And
Asha.
Asha, you're right.
Asha.
Is it Asha in the books?
Yeah.
Asha in the books, yeah.
And basically Dampfair says, Euron's saying, I'm going to be king, or whatever. And he says, we shall have no king, but from the Kingsmoot, Damphair stood, no godless man may sit the sea stone chair. Euron glanced about the tent. As it happens, I have oft sat upon the seastone chair of late. It raises no objections. His smiling eye was glittering. Who knows more gods than I? Horse gods and fire gods, gods made of gold with gemstone eyes, gods carved of cedar wood, gods chisels into mountains, and gods of empty air. I know them all. I have seen their people garland them with flowers, and shed the blood of goats and bulls and children in their names. I have heard their prayers in 100 tongues. Cure my withered leg, make the maiden love me, grant me a healthy son, save me, succor me, make me wealthy, protect me from mine enemies, protect me from the darkness, protect me from the crabs inside my belly, from the horse lords, from the slavers, from the sellswords at my door, protect me from the silence, he laughed. Godless, why Aaron, I am the godliest man to ever raise sail. You serve one goddamn fair. I have served 10,000, from Ib to Ashai, when men see my sails, they pray. So there's a theory that like Euron has this like
disease.
Well, there's this thing. There's a part of it's from the Winds of Winter chapter.
What the fuck? I'm so confused right now.
In the Winds of Winter chapter, he literally has Aaron, who's Damfair, the other uncle.
Damfair,
chained to the bottom of a ship, right?
The bow, like
no,
right.
no, like on the very bottom deck, under like you're inside the ship in the hull, just chained to the bottom, right? Just flat on his back, but there's water in the boat. And the ship's moving, so like he
someone's got to go get a bail. You got to bail out the water.
So he like can't breathe, right? No, it's on purpose, right? So
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, he's making a joke.
He's like torturing. I got you. He's like torturing him, and basically he's like, and Euron keeps tormenting him, and he's like, it seems like he's trying to get Euron to pray to him, literally pray to Euron. He's like, pray to me, and so Euron has a crew of all mutes, right? He cuts out all their tongues, so people are like, how do you crew a ship with people who can't talk? It takes a lot of communication to crew a ship. People think he has this. He drinks all the fucking weird warlock juice, right? All that shit. People think he has this like telepathic, read minds, talk to people through their heads type of thing. But people have to like reach out. Like literally, if people pray to him, which is like when you're praying, you're basically just trying to talk to God in your thoughts, right? So when he's saying like pray to me, he's like just try and talk to me in your thoughts, and maybe Euron would then. Like Aaron would literally be able to communicate with Euron is the thought here. So and then here in this quote, he's literally saying like I hear all their curse. Like when I sail into a harbor and people see my sails, they know I'm gonna fuck everything up, and they start praying. I can hear that because I can read minds type thing, right? Which is how I heard Hoster Tully complain about the crabs in his belly. It's literally the only ever time it's mentioned ever in the entire books. How the fuck does Euron literally say the exact same line when he's talking about things people pray?
And it's kind of like out of nowhere too, right?
Out
crabs,
of nowhere,
like,
exactly.
It still doesn't even make sense when he says it.
Protect me from mine enemies, protect me from my darkness, protect me from the crabs inside my belly, from the horse lords, from the slavers, from the swords.
Was he a faceless man, or was he around in the area?
People think that as well. So one thing though,
there's only one true God. That's the right guy.
People think that this feeling is stomach cancer, right? People think that George is describing stomach cancer here. Crab is literally the star symbol.
The cancer, astrology.
This probably is the pain you would have if you had stomach cancer. Euron's dad died of a stomach disease, potentially stomach cancer, right? So a lot of people that are against this theory say, just like people say the others take you, they just call stomach cancer crabs inside my belly. Or that's just like a common thing that people say. Yeah. So like maybe this isn't a super weird coincidence that Euron just happened to say the exact same thing that Hoster said and we've never heard it anywhere else in the book.
It's just a kind of common saying about his tummy ache.
It's just a common way to express stomach cancer in Westeros, and we've just never encountered anyone else with stomach cancer.
Did you say Euron's dad died of stomach cancer?
He died of a stomach condition. We don't, again, how the fuck do we know exactly what it was?
I thought he got pushed off. Oh, that was just the show. He got pushed off.
That was his brother. That was
Balon.
That's Euron's brother.
Oh, yeah, so when you said Euron, I was thinking one-eyed Euron.
Yep, Euron is Balon's
brother. Yeah, they're brothers in the show,
I'm an idiot. Yep.
So their father died of like a stomach ailment. So a lot of people who are anti this theory say that. It's just a common thing. He's talking about stomach cancer. It's like people saying, I pray for money, I pray for health, I pray for...
Yeah, I got
He says health separately, but whatever. And I also just think that's a badass quote. Euron is like... I think Euron and Asha are like two of the coolest characters in all the books. And a lot of people hate on the Greyjoys, but Asha's just super practical, and like she's like witty like Tyrion. Like she's just.
I don't
like,
remember what Asha does. I remember they have a bunch of shit, right? They're taking over like the little islands.
Well, there's like some
the King's Smoot.
Just like I think she's funny. Like, so like in this chapter that I just like reread this Euron chapter, there's like a part where like they're basically all she's saying I want to be queen, and they're like you can't be queen. When I'm king, I'll marry you off, and like people are like oh I'll marry her, I'll make her a woman, and like she's like this is my husband, and she has a throwing axe, and she's like I throw it at your manhood, but it's too small, and she like there's a guy called Left Hand Lucas Codd, and she's like I would marry you Lucas, but then what would your famous left hand have to do for the rest of your life? And she's just like. Like talking shit with all the sailor boys, and I just fucking like love it. She's a fucking badass.
Yeah. I mean, she's a good character in the show too. Like she's
for sure.
She doesn't take shit and whatnot. Yeah. I mean that's
a way different
arc.
Crazy different arc. She's with Stannis. She's literally in the Battle of Ice, so way different arc from the show. But yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's crazy to think about too. I mean,
her and Theon are together with Stannis about to fight Ramsay. So, well, Theon's probably who knows what the fuck's gonna happen, but.
Oh man, when's the book coming out?
It's not. You're never gonna get this book. Do you think it means anything that like this is the first time we kind of get Theon bragging to the other people? You know, like
no, he's bragged before.
But he's bragging a lot now. Like, oh yeah, we fucking blah blah blah. Like he's about to go back to the Iron Islands and like be bragging like a motherfucker, right? And it's just like.
I think the most interesting part, you're right, you're 100% right, but I think the most interesting part about that is Theon's talking about like Grey Wind literally just fucking people up. Like ripping arms off people. And he said the Lannisters thought the others were upon him when Grey Wind showed up. And
yeah, he's hyping up Grey Wind, not really himself.
Yeah, not more than anybody else, which is why I'm okay with it. All right, do we have any more hot ticket items? Kyle's tried to join this once or twice already.
I don't have anything. I'm good.
We're good, boys.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. And we will see everyone in the next chapter, the last chapter, last podcast for Game of Thrones.
We're almost there. A Song of Ice and Fire.
Chapter 72, Dany 10. See you guys next week.
Bye.
See you later.